Hey, what's going on? This is Steve Sanders, and I'm with Scoop B Radio.
Scoop B Radio in your area code, on the plane, on the train, everywhere you need to be. I'm your host, Brandon Scoop B Robinson. Make sure to check out Scoop B Radio on all streaming platforms. Visit scoopb.com and make sure, most importantly, you stay locked in because the guy that I got right now, he is Cleveland through and through. So much so that not only is he from there, he played for the Browns. Steve Sanders joins us on Scoop B Radio. Brother, what's going on?
What's up, Scoop B, man? How you doing, man?
Working my tail off. What's up with you?
Man, exactly as you should be, man. And same thing here, just putting in the grind, man, and trying to make things happen. That's what we do.
A birdie tells me that Married to Medicine is taking flight this month. You and your wife are on this season. What do we have to look forward to?
I guess the word got out a little bit, man. We were trying to kind of keep it under wraps, but we're excited about it. Really just us as, new cast members coming into the situation, trying to get to know just the landscape of, the people that have been on the show, build those relationships that are genuine and unique, but then trying to navigate the history of relationships that were already existing. So I'll say, not to give away anything, but I'll just say y'all in for a hell of a season. I'll say that it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot to unpack. And for those who are already fans of the show, they kind of know what to expect, but you get to see a glimpse of an introduction of us, my wife and I, Dr. Mimi, just coming into this thing and being excited about being a part of it.
The great philosopher, the Riddler on Batman once said, riddle me this. When you are on a show like this, is there in football, you have training camp, you have a boot camp. Is there a boot camp to be on a show like this?
Man, no, there's no boot camp. There's no boot camp. You're right into it. You kind of have a little bit of at least for us, not for everybody, but for us, we had a little bit of, just kind of a process of becoming the cast members. So we, try to do our research, you try to prep, you try to plan, obviously being somebody who's played the game, I'm a student of the game, so I'm gonna do some film study. So I'm gonna jump on there and I'm gonna watch some past seasons and try to find out what I'm walking into, get to know a little bit about the characters, and not necessarily using that, in every situation, but at least understanding the dynamic gives you a little bit of insight. Again, you try to approach every situation and every relationship uniquely, not judging them based upon, the history or what you've seen on the show. But it does give you a little bit of information, I'd say. So for me, that was the preparation. The same thing, my wife, and just a lot of conversations about our dynamic and about us and what we want to make sure that we are portraying, who we are, what we do, our business, highlighting us as our relationship. We just celebrated 10 years. So for all of those different dynamics, we want to make sure that we are focused on making sure that we're tight and we're glued and we're walking this thing together and we're walking out of this thing together, most importantly, for sure.
Your wife, Dr. Mimi, she is a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much of a cheat code is it to have your wife as a psychiatrist post NFL career? Because a lot of athletes have war stories.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, it tells you a lot about me. I had to marry a psychiatrist. I didn't go see one. I had to marry one. So, obviously, man, playing the game at the highest level, it comes with a lot, right? And people see the glory, but they don't know the story all the time of the athletes. And each and every one of us goes through our journey to get to that point as becoming an NFL player. You start at the little league level and you work your way up. And obviously, you're standout at the high school, you get recruited at the college level. Obviously, it's different than getting recruited than it is now. But, you go through this process. And throughout that process, I learned something about this thing called false masculinity, right? And it's one of those things where obviously as a young kid, we're kind of groomed to be taught that boys don't cry, men don't cry, tough it up, suck it up. And you go through the life that you live trying to not show weakness. And that really helps you when it comes to being an NFL player. However, post-career, it doesn't always work in your favor that way. So for me, post-career, I dealt with some depression. I decided to walk away from the game. I just really felt like God was calling me to do something greater than anything I can do with a ball in my hands. So I made the decision. It wasn't an easy one. And I even teeter-tottered to like, do I want to try to go back? I had opportunities. My agent was calling me, teams were calling, but I just knew that, there was something greater, right? So, but that still didn't mean that I didn't deal with challenges. So I dealt with some depression, and I didn't even know I was depressed. I didn't even know I was dealing with it. And it's one of those things where, especially unfortunately in our community, and especially with athletes, at least in the past, mental health wasn't something you really discussed or talked about. So for me, having a wife that was a psychiatrist, it was life changing. She really was somebody I trusted. I talked to her about the challenges I was having. She really encouraged me to seek help. She didn't push too hard, but she definitely was encouraging. And more than anything, she was a safe space. And I think that that's really important, especially for those who are, either dating athletes, engaged, married, whatever it is. We deal with so much throughout the world, deal with so much throughout the league, the challenges we deal with in our own team and our own locker rooms. And then when you get to that significant other, you really just want it to be a safe space, not to be judged, not to be critiqued in a way where you're belittled or feel like you're less than. And if you're able to share with that person, it brings you closer. And that's what I was able to do with my wife. And at the time, we were just dating. So I got the encouragement from her. I decided to seek the help and follow through with the help. So it's one thing to get the information; it's another thing to use the information. So once I used it and was able to see the benefits of it, I took it and packaged it and wrote a book. So I used my journey to try to help other athletes, other men, and it's just people in general who were going through those challenges. And I developed a model and a book called Training Camp for Life. So I took what I learned in the NFL, took my challenges, and put them into some principles to help people to not only overcome their challenges in sports and in life, but just in mental health and everyday life. So that was something that really helped me, and that's the cheat code. Basically, is that she's a psychiatrist, but she's also just a great woman, a great person, and really cares about people.
Let me find out she got, or rather, you got the female Phil Jackson right in your house. The art.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's the GOAT. I'm telling you, man, she's the truth when it comes to just being able to help people, and that's one thing of many that I love about her is that she really genuinely cares about helping people so much that she helped me.
That's real. Tell me something. Your time in Cleveland with the Browns, what was the atmosphere like?
It was crazy, man. Being a kid from Cleveland, growing up in the inner city, man, playing everything I could with a ball. My favorite team of all time is Cleveland Browns, right? So when you're from Cleveland, man, you just have this thing about bleeding orange and brown. And for me, that was just always something that I had as a little kid. The first game I ever watched, I watched Eric Metcalf take two punts back to the house versus Pittsburgh, and it was like, that's what I want to do. So growing up in Cleveland and then going to play for the Browns, the atmosphere was crazy. Obviously, I grew up in the hood, man. So a lot of people where I come from didn't get the opportunity, didn't really make it out, but a lot of people kind of tried to live their lives through me being a kid that came from that environment. So I got a lot of support. I got a lot of people who were, kind of had my back and pushing for me, being that kid from Cleveland. So for me, it was just crazy. It was surreal, really, just to be able to not only be a fan of the Browns and being from Cleveland, but then to go and play for Cleveland. So that's the one thing I can just say, man. It's just crazy being, in the dog pound, the Muni lot, just all the different dynamics you see. It's almost like a college atmosphere when you go to a Cleveland Browns game. So, man, I encourage people, even if you're not a Browns fan, like to go and see that unique experience, man. Is something that's just one of a kind.
So this was like post Bernie Kosar,
Yes. Yes, it
but
was.
but this was like,
Pre Johnny Manziel.
huh?
Yeah. The weird, right? So I tell you, right? Anybody who played for the Browns in that time period, people ask you, who was your quarterback? And I got to give you like 15 different names, right? But we were, roughly 2007, we had one of the first winning seasons I think that we
Mm-hmm.
had since coming back. And then that was the only winning season until, what was that, 2018, 2019, when Baker Mayfield took the Browns back to the playoffs. So, we had Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, some of the names, just teammates that I had. Kellen Winslow, unfortunately, had a rough turn out of his life, but Braylon Edwards, Andre Davis, just Willie McGinnis, kind of I think finished his career in Cleveland. Joe Jurevicius, and so the list goes on. And just some guys that were really good throughout their careers who finished their careers at the Browns. So I got a chance to be around those guys as a young rookie and couple of first years in the league.
So, Kellen Winslow, I've heard stories on the NBA side of his house. His house he lived in, Boobie Gibson lived in, Kyrie lived in, and I heard it was the party house. What was a day in the life with Kellen Winslow?
Oh man, Kellen, man, Kellen was a guy who you knew what you were getting from him, and it was just full of energy, just like how he was portrayed, and the media, how people saw him, the things he said, that was truly authentically him. He kind of had this warrior mentality that he just carried in everything that he did, man. And one of the guys that I've seen outside of against the things that he did at post career, and I just got to definitely say that I definitely don't condone women violence against women or anything negative, sexual assault or anything like that. But he was a really good teammate. He worked his butt off. He came to practice every single day, and it was almost to a point that it was just like over the top. But that's just how he was, and he brought that every single day, and it was one of those things that it helped other guys around him. It just made the team better. So when Kellen was on the field, man, everybody knew it because he wasn't going to let anybody slack off. So he wanted to win every single thing. He wanted to win every single time. He competed against, not only just the tight ends but the receivers, and so he was just had this certain unique mentality when it came to football. One of the most skilled guys I've ever seen play the game, and I, was on a team with Larry Fitzgerald, also very skilled, work ethic crazy. Calvin Johnson in Detroit, work ethic crazy, skills off the chart. So Kellen Winslow is right up there from a talent perspective when it comes to some of the elite people that I've seen and been around in the NFL.
When you look at today's NFL wide receiver and today's NFL quarterback, who out of the guys that you mentioned, because you mentioned Derek Anderson, you mentioned Brady Quinn, you mentioned Kellen Winslow, out of those guys that you mentioned, and even in some, which one of those at the quarterback and the wide receiver position played in the wrong era and would thrive now?
Oh man, Brady Quinn. Man, he was ahead of his time. Brady was very good. He was a gym rat, so he wanted to work out. He wanted to lift weights, and at that time, you didn't have quarterbacks that was doing a lot of that, right? And he was also a guy who cared about his brand. That was also kind of a cliche or kind of a thing not to do, right? It was always portrayed as, oh, you care more about your brand than you do about the team. Put the team first. And now, for you to care about your brand is important. If you don't care about it, people kind of look at you crazy, right? So I think Brady, man, was one of those guys who got a raw deal, and he definitely would have it would have been beneficial for him to play in a completely different era, man. So solid dude, good dude, but I wish he would have got the chance to really kind of showcase the skill set that he had.
Who in today's NFL era reminds you of Brady Quinn?
Today's NFL era, man, I would say somebody like kind of like a Josh Allen. Like He's a big dude. He's not afraid to put his body on the line. He's going to go out there. He got a big arm. He wants to show it off. He's going to go out there, get the guys riled up, and he's going to play. Wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's out there, trying to make things happen, even if it means putting his body on the line. So I'd say comparable. Josh Allen would definitely be somebody I compare to.
I like that. I like that. Scoopy Radio, checking out all things Married to Medicine, Cleveland Browns, and everything in between. If we talk about football briefly, I got to get your insight on what Cleveland was like at the Quicken Loans Arena, the Gun Arena, when you were playing. I know you checked out a lot of games there while you were playing.
Yeah, man, I lived downtown at one point, right across the street from the Cavs arena when Brown was there. So, and this is pre Bron leaving to go to Miami. So it was crazy. I mean, everything around when the Cavs played. I mean, you had, the celebrities in town. You had all the businesses thriving around. You could just walk outside your apartment and just everything was just live. So to see, what the city looked like when LeBron was there, man, it was surreal. It was a different level. And then, of course, him leaving and then coming back just went even to another level. So by that time I was living, a little bit ways away, but still made my way downtown, made it to the arena. It was just crazy, man. Every game sold out. Just seeing somebody like that's just one of a kind talent, one of a kind player, getting to see it live in person on a regular basis. We got spoiled. I'd say at least I got spoiled of seeing something like that, man. So when he left to LA, man, I just took my support and my fandom to LA. So I just kind of follow Bron when it comes to the NBA and basketball. I mean, I got a lot of people that I follow, but I definitely the number one player that I follow in the NBA is LeBron for sure.
I got to follow up with that. I've had conversations with people from Cleveland, and they'll make this statement: "Oh, well, LeBron is not from Cleveland, but because he's from Akron, but he played for the Cavs." Is it possible to have a dual easy pass in Cleveland and Akron at the same time?
When it comes to LeBron, for sure, and like you definitely get a pass. You definitely start to adopt the LeBron is from Cleveland. Even though he's from Akron, and I love everything that he does off the court in the Akron area with the school. It's phenomenal to see him care so much about Northeast Ohio. And I think that's the key, right? It's just Northeast Ohio. So Akron is so close to Cleveland. You got a lot of surrounding suburbs in Cleveland, but there is this kind of mindset if you're, living in the city and inner city of Cleveland. Oh, if you live on the outskirts, you're not from Cleveland. So depending on where you are in life, man, you can live in the suburbs, but you grew up in the city. But LeBron being from Akron, man, it's cool. He's good. It's LeBron. So at the end of the day, we're going to call it LeBron from Cleveland, from Akron. It's all the same when it comes to LeBron.
Tomato, tomato, as they say.
Exactly, for sure.
Ohio is a sports state, and you have your hands within Nike in the high school ranks. Can you tell me more about what you're doing in the community?
Yeah, man. So I've done a lot when it comes to sports and staying a part of the game. I've been a part as a Browns alumni and getting back as a Legends camp. They do annual Legends camps all around Northeast Ohio. Participated within that through the youth sports department. Great thing that they do and giving away free camps for kids to come and be a part of it. So when I wrote the book Training Camp for Life, Developing Champions in Sports and in Life, I partnered with the NFL with their NFL College Outreach Program. So I got to become one of the initial ambassadors of that program and go out and speak to different colleges. So I've always wanted to stay a part of the game. At one point, I really wanted to coach. I wanted to be a coach at the college level or at the NFL level. Things just kind of went a little bit different for me, and I chose to go a different path when it comes to my wife and I starting a business. But I stayed involved in the game and got an opportunity to come aboard Nike as a regional camp director. So with that, I host in the Georgia area, getting ready to expand that to Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, in this particular region, hosting Nike football camps throughout the summer and winter too as well, and even taking it beyond that and offering some Nike football training too as well to sports specific things. So it's a great opportunity, man. Nike is a great organization, obviously one of the biggest in the world, but when it comes to football and football camps, it's second to none, man. So my first year being a part of Nike football camps, I ran a camp in Atlanta area and got an award throughout all camps throughout the country for the #1 camp in the country. So the parents love what we offered. I had a great team, great staff that we put together, and for them to be able to run such a phenomenal camp, the coaches, the facility that we chose, everything came together, and it was awesome. So for us to be able to continue that on and then now expand it into other parts of the region, it's just an exciting opportunity, man. So love being a part of Nike, love doing what we're doing, and we're going to continue to build up the Nike football camps in this region.
Listen, I like what you're doing there, and we'll definitely continue to monitor that. Before we get out of here, I got to ask this question. I recently checked in with a couple of Philadelphia Eagles, and I asked them to name their Mount Rushmore of Philadelphia Eagles. Some people said that most people said Jaws, any iteration of Jaws, Donovan McNabb, and more. Two-part question. Can you give me a Mount Rushmore of Cleveland sports?
Oh, of Cleveland sports? Oh, man. Okay. So of Cleveland sports, 1 and 2 are undeniable. You can't question them. Whoever creates the list, and that's Jim Brown and LeBron, right?
Okay.
So, and now we go to 3 and 4, right? So, number 3, I'm biased, but it's still a great person to add to this list, and it has to be Josh Cribbs. One of my guys, close friends that I play with, but what Josh brought to the table, very few have been able to do as a returner. Not only just a returner, but it's like a special teams just beast. Would lead the team and lead the league in special teams tackles, and then go and return punch for touchdowns and return kickoff returns for touchdowns. So Josh is on there. The fourth one is where probably I just have to think a little bit where, you got so many people, man. You could throw Kyrie in that, right? Because of the shot that he hit. So he's definitely one of the top. I came up in the 90s era. So Mark Price is somebody that I remember, being a baller. But my number 4 on that list has to be Eric Metcalf, just because for me, that's the person that I admired the most growing up, and wore number 21 all throughout high school and little league. And then when I got to college, somebody had 21, so I reversed it and wore 12. So for me, it goes number 4 is Eric Metcalf. So that's Jim Brown, that's LeBron James, that's Josh Cribbs, and that's Eric Metcalf. So I got 3 Browns on there and 1 Cap.
Can you expand more on Mark Price? Because I was hoping you said Mark Price. I feel like people give him hell because he's white and he played basketball.
No, Mark Price was a beast, man. I mean, being somebody who grew up just loving basketball and playing it and watching it, so I understood the game at another level, so I can understand what he brought to the table. So not only could Price, distribute the rock, run the offense, just being a floor general out there, but he could shoot. Like, he was a knockdown 3-point shooter. Before Steve Kerr, there was Mark Price. So Mark Price was a monster, always at the top of the league when it came to free throw percentage. I think he even had the records for some time, but Mark Price was a beast, man. So even just that 80s and 90s Cavs team with Price, Nance, Doherty, those guys out there, man, they had a really good squad. Even Elo was a baller until he got hit with my MJ shot, man. That shot just really took MJ to another level. But it definitely Craig Elo was somebody that could ball too as well. And you had Terrell Brandon, and so, man, we had some good teams back then. If it wasn't for Jordan, man, those teams probably would have went on to win a couple championships, man. But of course, when you talk about MJ, that's another level.
Bro, let me tell you something. Not only was Mark Price that efficient on that level, I don't know about you, but in the arcade and on Sega Genesis, he had my NBA Jam lit.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Like yeah, like that NBA jams, NBA Live. Before there was the 2K, you had Jordan versus Bird game. You had so many different games. It's on Nintendo, Sega, whatever it was, man. So yeah, definitely Mark Price was a knockdown. He could catch on fire for sure on NBA jams for sure.
Last question. I asked you about the Mount Rushmore of Cleveland athletes. I got to follow that up by asking you about your Mount Rushmore of Cleveland Browns. Who's on that
hmm
list?
Yeah, that list, starting with one and two. You go one, two, and three. Obviously, Jim Brown again, uh, Josh Cribbs again, Eric Metcalf, and then number four. I played defense too growing up, man, and there was this guy that was on the Browns, man, back in the day, um, and he was somebody I modeled my game after. On the defensive side, I played safety, but Eric Turner, man, he unfortunately tragically died at an early age, but Eric Turner was a monster, man, on the defensive side. So Eric Turner, definitely have to add him on that list around Mount Rushmore too as well. So when you think about, if nobody knows what I'm talking about, Eric Turner, just go look up Eric Turner, look at some of his highlights. You will see a dude who played all over the field from the safety position. And this was, before you had the Troy Palomalus and the Ed Reeds. He was out there playing like those guys back in the early 90s. So Eric Turner was a monster.
I like it, brother. You answered all my questions. I learned more about you on the grassroots side with Nike. Make sure you guys check out the show with Dr. Mimi. And I'll be paying attention to you, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, man, appreciate you, man. I look forward to coming back on, after the show airs and kind of getting a little feedback from you on that. And next time I come on, we definitely got to talk about a little fantasy football too as well, man. That's one of the things that I enjoy doing and getting involved in. My name on the fantasy football scene is Fantasy GOAT. So I win championships. I bring it, man. So we definitely got to talk a little fantasy football.
Taking numbers, taking hearts, and more importantly, keeping it positive, brother. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.